Coliseum. Next panel is of the independent game scene. Please welcome your host, Robin Hunike.
How's everybody doing? Yeah? All right. Not a tough act to follow, Jordan, and you know, just Kojima. Not a big deal, right? No press, no press. So I'm just going to have the rest of the panelists going to come on out here, and then we are going to start talking to you about what it's like to be an indie developer and the challenge and the glory of being an independent game developer. So why don't you make a big round of applause and bring them out here. All right. This is what indie developers look like. We're not as old and wrinkly as we seem. We must be doing all the hard work that we do. So we're gonna just go around really quickly and introduce ourselves, and I will start. My name is Robin Hunike, and I'm the co-founder of Funomena. The last title that I released at E3 about almost 5 years ago was Journey. I don't know if you've heard of it. That's right. And I'm here actually not on the floor, but behind closed doors with Luna, which is my new game, which is a PC and VR title about learning from your mistakes. And it's quite beautiful and lovely. We'll talk about a little bit about that later. But with that, I would like to move forward and introduce our next guest. So please tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm PlayerUnknown, or Brendan Greene. I'm creative director on PlayerUnknown's BATTLEGROUNDS. And we released on Steam about 3 months ago.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Releasing is so sweet.
Hey everybody, my name's Eli Cymet. I'm the head producer at Snowman. We made a small mobile game called Alto's Adventure, and we're here showing off the sequel to the game, Alto's Odyssey, releasing this summer.
Woo-hoo.
Hey, my name is Jason Oda. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I released or announced my indie game, I'm All By Myself, on Monday, and now I'm here. So
That's
it's called
right.
Coma.
It's Coma.
So yeah.
Let's give him a big round of applause, because he's doing this last minute. Yeah. So I think that the thing that I always start off with when I tell myself about being an indie developer is why I do what I do, so why this game. So I'm going to start actually with you, and we're going to move backwards. Why are you making Coma? Why this game?
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about the game. So Coma is a game where you play as yourself in a coma, and basically it takes place in this dream within your subconscious, and basically you use the memory. There are these forces of darkness that are trying to convince you to give up on life and to basically die. And your only weapons against these forces of darkness are the memories from your real life that you kind of input into the game along the way. So if someone were to ask you, if your life was a video game, what would be like the blue boomerang or the magic mushroom or the Variasuit or whatever, from your life, those treasured moments, those things that give you power and hope and happiness. These are sort of the weapons that you have in this game. And, basically the idea is I want people with this game to have this real way of looking inward to themselves. It's not just about sort of empathizing with a character or becoming a character. It's about, the sort of looking inwards to your most precious memories. And basically, the thing about being in a coma or whatever terrible things that can happen in life is you never appreciate the beautiful things about life until it's all taken away.
Yeah.
And so this game is about trying to get people to sort of realize those things inside of them. So
wow, a game to make people feel gratitude. Let's give him a huge round of applause for that. How much would that make the world a better place? That's really great. That's fantastic. All right, Eli, you're up next. Why this game?
Why Alto? So we talk a lot about Alto as an endless snowboarding odyssey about the feeling of being alone in nature. And so for us, it's not so much a game about extreme sports or the fidelity of doing snowboard tricks as it is about the idea that we want players to feel like it's not just a game they can play, but a place they can go. And we're really touched often by the emails we'll receive from people telling us, I'm recovering from a back surgery and I use Alto to sort of relieve my stress or pain, or I have a lot of anxiety and Alto helps me fall asleep at night, or probably my favorite, who's a mother who emailed us and said, I have a son who is sort of non-speaking and having troubles sort of actualizing, and he and I communicate through Alto. So we want to make games, I think, that sit with people for a long time, even though they might only sit with them for a very short time. And that, I think, means making games that you don't have to be a certain type of player or person or gamer to enjoy. And you know, I want to be able to show Alto to my grandmother, and she may not even play games or have heard of them, but she'll be able to find something she can appreciate and something that she can sort of cling on to that lingers in her heart and mind for a little longer after she's seen it.
I just think that phrase, games that sit with people for a long time, even though they've only sat with them for a short time. That's such a great way to say.
Thank you.
That games really have a massive impact on the way you see the world.
They do, yeah.
And they can create understandings about yourself or about others in a way that's really interesting. So yeah, I guess that just leaves you.
See, and I feel really bad because I like to kill people. So, I made Battle Royale because I wanted to make a game I wanted to play. It wasn't, it was just, I didn't see any games in the game space that I wanted to play. So I created my game mode, Battle Royale, which turned into Battlegrounds.
Well, and this is a really interesting point. Independent developers that make the games they want to see are often the ones that are the most successful. Like if you look at Minecraft, can you imagine having been in the pitch meeting for Minecraft, Well, it's going to be like, there's no tutorial and then things kill you, but it's also all square, It kind of looks like it was made a long time ago, but it has a cool shader. But then, bam, right? Like he made the game you wanted to play, and suddenly,
it's been great. Like, I have heard so many stories over like the last 4 years of people getting married because they met playing Battle Royale, or
I killed you. I love you.
Yeah, right. Like this father now plays with his son, and like lots of these stories of like people coming together through the game mode, and that to me is awesome.
Yeah, so if you think about why we're making these games, for me it's very similar to Coma. Luna is a game about learning from your mistakes, and so in the world, when something uncomfortable or blindsiding happens to you, you can kind of just tamp it down and be like, I got this, don't need to talk about it, moving on. But if you keep doing that, eventually what happens is you can't feel anything anymore, and you get numb. And in our society, we don't do a really good job of telling people it's okay to feel pain, it's okay to be bummed out. Like if you're really feeling sad or alone, the best thing you can do is reach out to somebody else. And so I really wanted to make a game that addressed kind of two things. One was, why do people do things that they know are bad for them? Like, why did Little Red Riding Hood talk to the wolf? Why do we take that call? Why do we go back? Why do we send that text message? Why do we do it, right? And then the second one is, well, now you've done it. What do you do? How do you recover? The only way for me, really, is to talk about it and let it go. And that takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. So, we each have a personal interest in making games for some reason. What is the thing about being indie that we can talk about for these folks? I was thinking maybe it's like, what is the thing about being an indie that makes you feel like you have a unique opportunity, or that's really awesome about being independent? Like, because you can make a game inside of a huge studio, or you can make a game by yourself, or you can do something kind of like what we're all doing, which is a little bit in the medium between just me alone and a huge studio. So let's go back around this way. What's the best thing about your situation, and can you kind of describe to people what that means for you? Right?
Yeah, so I was wondering if I was truly an indie because like Bluehole, the company that I work with, we have like 500 employees, but
right.
Our team, we started off when we were developing this game like a year ago with only about 30 people on the team, and we were very independent inside that big organization. Yes, we had reports to management, but we were never told to change anything, and even to this day, we can do everything ourselves. We make all business decisions, like design decisions, everything is made by our team. So I guess kind of we are independent, so to speak, even though it's part of a bigger company.
Yeah, I mean, you get to make the decisions that you want to make on your game, right?
Oh, this is like they do what I say, basically, and it's
And you're
it's
self-publishing?
great. Yeah, we go through Steam.
Yeah, so to me, what indie means is you're self-publishing, you're in control of the creative direction of your game, and even if someone's helping you make it, like someone from a publisher is paying you, as long as you're in charge of your own destiny, then you're an indie,
Yeah, I mean, and having like a great team, like that's
having a great team is nice.
It really,
I don't
helps.
think you can put the name indie next to your game and then actually guarantee that you have a great team. So you're lucky that you do. Yeah, Eli.
Yeah, so Snowman's interesting in that we're pretty geographically distributed. There are 3 of us out in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm in Vancouver, and a couple of our artists and designers are out in the UK. So something I think I like, sort of hewing back to this idea that there's no one telling you what to do, is that we don't have to get some central office. We don't have to have 8 or 9 departments that do this and that, and file everything in triplicate. So there's that easiness of being able to have an idea, ideate, iterate, and bring it to life and see if it's fun really, really quickly, which is fun. Sort of fun allows us to find the fun and find the games that we want to make more quickly. And something I think that I like as well is that we don't have to justify where we were inspired. I think we were talking before about how we're just as inspired at Snowman from a walk in nature and a trip to the theater and a conversation we had with one of our family members as we are by other games when it comes to the things that make it into our games. And we don't have to justify the market return of that when we're making it. And we publish on fully democratized platforms. Our games come out on the App Store and on Google Play and on the Amazon App Store, where the barrier to entry is a relatively affordable developer's fee. And so for us, that's really what I love about being independent. Speed, iteration, and sort of a really tight feedback loop among a team of artists.
Yeah, you don't have to have like one of those meetings where you get on the phone with like 3 different time zones.
Yeah.
And then there's like 3 different people that are on the branding side that are like, I don't know if the ears look good. You should probably move them like 3 millimeters to the left, right? You don't have to have those big approval meetings. You just go to work, sit down and go, I had an idea last night, let's try it, get it in the game, and then move forward, right? So there's this idea of control, but also being able to follow the fun is one way that people say it, and I think that does really make being an independent rewarding, How about yourself?
Well, for me, my background is sort of an art background. I went to art school, and I did like oil painting to a certain age and everything like that, and then I kind of just picked up code because I just had this dream in life to have something that I did that was really beautiful and connected with people, and it wasn't happening through like paint and stuff. And so I started picking up code and making games, and people started gradually just playing my little games, and sort of worked one game from the next to something a little bit bigger. And now basically what happened is I managed to get some funding from the ID at Xbox program to make my game.
Go ID at
which
Xbox.
Basically, has been this process where I used to live in New York City and do a sort of like a lot of ad agency stuff before I did the indie game thing. And I basically just left the city because I couldn't afford to live there anymore. And I now live in rural Iowa because rent is just crazy cheap. And
That's
awesome.
awesome.
All the indie game cliches, I just basically work all day long.
I'm just seeing you in a
Haven't had
barn,
girlfriend
like
in
surrounded by
ages,
cows.
all that stuff.
Yeah, like fields
But
of wheat.
it's a peaceful place for me to work on this by myself. I have some freelancers that help me out, but
So you really are. You're like doing it on your own.
yeah, for me, this is just like, it's just about a dream of trying to connect with people.
That is
and
so
that's
fantastic.
kind of it.
That's really great. So, for me, I was working at a larger publisher. I worked on The Sims and then Boom Blocks. And then, Boom Blocks was a fun game. I love that game. And then I moved on to TGC. And after TGC, I really thought about it because I had been in a big publisher and then I had gone indie. And I realized, I actually want to build a company around some core ideas about how we work together, what it means to create a safe and relaxing environment to do work. That you could bring your whole person to work. You don't have to show up pretending to be somebody that you're not. And I think that's actually something that is also really great about being an independent developer, is that you get to decide what the culture is at your company or inside of your little studio that you're working on. You get to decide who you work with. You get to really be picky about who you hire. And it's really, if you work on a large team, you may end up in a situation where you're working with a lot of people that came to you through a variety of different environments and have different interests, but they're all getting a paycheck working together, and you can have cohesion in that environment. But if you're in indie, you're right above the fire, so you really have to be passionate, right? And I feel like being able to architect a business that is about doing it the way that is necessary and not having to justify the costs, but rather think through, okay, how much money can we raise? What kind of game do we want to make, and why? If we want to make a game that really brings out these aspects of our players, like you said, looking inward, thinking about yourself, or perhaps connecting with nature or connecting with someone else online. These are all really great values, but you can do values-driven development as an independent, and then you can slowly grow, and hopefully my goal is to create enough people inside of Funomena that want to pop out and start their own little studio, right? So the reason we called the studio Funomena was because we wanted to generate new seeds, new innovation, sort of new technologies.
That's why we're offering modding on our game, is because
great.
I want to find the next PlayerUnknown. I want to find someone who uses my platform to create their own game mode and then get a chance to make their own game, and
That's awesome.
It's important, you have to, it can't just be the big guys making games. It's like everyone has to, if you want to try, the tools are there.
Yeah, it actually is. Let's just do a show of hands. How many of you in the audience have thought about making your own game? Yeah, all right. And how many of you have started your own game? All right. And how many of you have finished a game? Yeah, see? This is the story of indie.
The gradually
More hands
dwindling.
at thinking, less hands at trying, and then very few, warriors that really made it all the way through. And so I guess that's the other thing I wanted to talk about before we go to questions is like, where are the challenges for you all? Like, what is the thing, like, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're freaking out, what are you freaking out about? Like, for me, it's definitely money. I'm just going to say that. It's always money. I'm always just like, oh my God, are we going to get it done in time? Do you have enough burn rate? Because I run the business.
Me is servers.
Servers. Oh my God, it's going to go down.
No, like we're in the middle of like optimizing our servers at the moment, but at the moment it's really, people are not having a good time sometimes, and that doesn't keep me up at night, but it worries me. I'm annoyed that like people aren't having the best experience, even though it still is Steam Early Access, and you kind of expect that, but no.
Yeah, so you just want people to have a great experience.
Right.
There's like this shameful feeling that like, oh my God, I'm going to let them down, right? And there's no big person, there's no big brand to hide behind in the case of an indie, right? Like if you screw up, that's you.
Oh, it's my name on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really went all in on that. They know exactly who to call if something goes wrong. Yeah,
PlayerUnknown is responsible.
I'm responsible. So for me, it's a couple of things. I think it's definitely money. It's definitely so. My studio's lead producer, and I sort of craft the brand voice. But a producer is kind of this weird all hats role that does everything, and it's hard to describe. It doesn't seem like it does anything when you talk about it. But what it means is that I think about everything from, is this next game in the Alto series true to the feelings we're capturing with Alto, and does it represent more than just a cash-in? That's one thought, and then I'd go all the way to the other end of the spectrum and think, do enough press know about this new footage we're showing at E3 to make sure that for its summer release, the platform holders are excited about it for potential featuring, and what will that do to our bottom line? And so it's this fact that when you're indie, you get the freedom of doing a lot of things, but you also have to do a lot of things. And so that multifacetedness, I think, makes me feel very daunted.
That is such a good point, and I think that it's one of the things that when we talk about the indie shame spiral or the malaise, which it's sometimes called in our community, of feeling freaked out and like nothing's going right, it's because you're task swapping. You're thinking like, okay, I have to hire a new animator, which means I have to put up a job description, I've got to do all this stuff, but I also have to make sure that I call back Microsoft because they're awesome and I really need to call them back. And then also, I really need to have a one-on-one with this particular person on my team who's going through something tough, just want to check in and make sure everything's okay with them. And then I also have to do this PR planning, and so your brain is kind of going back and forth, and like it does take a long time, right? Like when you're alone and you're doing it, which is a very small team. Like Luna's team is 7 people. The studio Funomena is 15, because Kata's game is about 7 people, and then we have a sound designer that works on both projects. When you're that small, it can be really intimidating to think about how long it's going to take you to get everything done, right? Like, I mean, you get up in the morning and you look at the list, and that's your list, right? That's the whole damn thing.
I guess so. The thing is, for me, is I know I just wake up every day and I'm so happy that my dream is coming true.
Man,
that
you're
I'm
awesome.
getting to work on my game, and I live the most meager existence ever, and I don't have to worry about money that much. The main thing that I have a problem with is just everything takes so much longer than you think it's going to take, and I'm already like, the reason why I'm announcing now, like 2.5 years, 3 years in, is because like I still think I have like another year, and but I don't want to make any promises. And if I made any promises back then, I would have just been one of these people that is constantly delaying, kind of a thing.
That's all games though, and this is the thing, right? Nobody remembers if your game shipped on time, but everybody remembers if it shipped awesome. And that's something that we all struggle with. We all know that like it's the time that you take that makes a game great.
If there's one thing that I could say that is really like on my mind a lot, it is just the idea of like there are people, most people I know, probably you guys are like this, are the types of people who, if you get a bad review, you're just like, oh, who cares about those people? What does their opinion matter? I crawl into bed and like just cry. Like, that is the type of person I am, and I know that there will be inevitably bad reviews of any game that you put out. When those are the days that I fear in the future. That's just how I am.
Well, I'm a teacher. I teach at UC Santa Cruz, and I was telling my students that they should just relax because no review that you ever get will be as bad as the review for Trespasser. If you look it up, it's a 3.9 out of 100. So on GameSpot, yeah. So there are those games that come out and just totally crumble in front of everybody. And you know what? If you think about it, it's been a long time since we've had one of those. As an industry, we're really stepping up our game. We've made a lot of really amazing games, and I think that indies in particular are really innovating and making things that other people wouldn't make. So we have about 10 minutes left, and so I wanted to give the audience a chance to ask questions. And we actually have, if my understanding is correct, a video question from Facebook about the indie game revolution. And I guess that means that they're going to play this video, and we're going to answer what the question is. So let's see it. Dun 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 dun.
Hi, I'm here with Eric from Cleveland. Welcome to E3. What is your question?
My question is, as a new video game designer, what video game engine would you recommend developing in first?
Ooh, all right, and this is kind of a juicy question, so I'll start with you since you're working on your own.
Well, I use Unity, and I think the thing is like
Unity.
They're both great engines, and they're both pretty similar. The good thing about Unreal is you can get something looking really good really quick. In Unity, you have to really like kind of work with it to get it to look really good. But the thing that I think is better about Unity is the main problem with stuff is just getting stuck on weird bugs, I think. And I think the forums and documentation in Unity are a little bit more extensive and better, just easier to work with. I mean, code is code, and you can switch from one to the other. It's not that big of a deal. But I would say Unity if I had to pick one.
All right, so for speed of use and getting things up there and getting it in the game.
And just not getting caught up on the bugs, because that's the real. There's always engines have like weird things, and the Unity forums are so huge. There's so much stuff on there, and from what I've heard, the Unreal ones are smaller. I don't know though.
All right.
I think.
So yeah, my answer is Unity, and I think I have an interesting story that kind of, for me, represents why I like it. Alto's development almost got pretty significantly derailed early on when one of the people that we brought on to program the game really didn't work out. They were not only taking longer than we thought, but the things they were doing really just were not at the spirit of the game. And our artist, Harry, who was based in the UK, comes from a traditional art background, just like you, really classic graphic design. And he decided that he was going to try his hand at it himself. So Harry actually learnt Unity during the development of Alto, and then made the game.
That's amazing.
With himself. And so what I like about Unity is its versatility too. I like this idea that with Unity you can customize aspects of it. So we, for Unity, use a lot of the standard out-of-the-box Unity, but we have a really complex sound system in Alto to generate those subtle sand and snowboarding sounds, and that's totally, completely customized from the standard Unity sound engine. So we like that versatility as well.
That's cool.
And I just got to give a shout out for Unreal.
Yeah,
like,
do it.
Yeah, no, Unreal is just.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love
that's the
Unreal
choice.
because it's completely open source, and like if Unreal don't fix it, we stand a chance of fixing it, and it's that versatility that it's just fully open, and for the game we're trying to make, it helps.
Right. Well, so I have friends at Unity and Unreal, but I actually do most of my development in Unity, and it's a kind of a combo of what you're both saying. It's very easy for my developers to get things up and running very quickly in Unity. It's really great for prototyping. It's great for jamming, which is the way that we find the fun. All the games at Funomena are focused on like juicy feedback and physics and sound. We have a really complex physics system in Watam. We have a really involved sound system in that game as well that we've been working on for a long time. So we've done a lot of custom coding on physics and music, and also have a lot of custom physics and music in Luna. So we love musical systems and interactive music, and we really, really love physics. And especially in VR, you have to be able to get all that tactile feedback. Like Luna is a game where you're unfolding puzzles, you're unwrapping stars, you're like planting little pieces of this bird's memory, and it's creating a beautiful terrarium in front of you. And if that doesn't feel right when your hand reaches out and puts that in the space, or when you take something from the palette and place it in the terrarium, it's just like, it makes it feel fake. And especially in VR. The PC, we can kind of cheat. You know, with Journey, you can move the camera to drive people, you know, one way or the other, and drive their attention. But in VR, the headset is the camera. That's it. That's all you got. And so you have to get a lot of juicy feedback into the game. And I found that Unity has been really good for us at jamming a bunch of stuff in and getting feedback about how it's working so that we know where we need to go moving forward. So I guess at this point, we could take a question from the audience. Does anyone out there have a question? How about in the front row here with the glasses and the beard? Full beard, plus mustache.
The beard.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about Alto, because I really love the artwork, and also one of my favorite games is Monument Valley. So even I have a tattoo of Monument Valley. So yeah, I love games and I make games. So I wanted to ask you, because the feelings that I get of Alto are peace and a lot of like calmness. So what kind of approach do you have for art direction, or to like having a very strong like art style like Alto?
Ooh. First of all, thank you so much. I mean, that means so much to hear that you get from Alto some of the things that we tried to put into it, and that's really, really touching. And Monument Valley is gorgeous. Fun little tidbit, our artist, Harry, actually spent a few months at Us2, the studio that makes Monument Valley. We're close friends with them, and his whole philosophy with Odyssey, since it's a game about traveling outside your comfort zone, is that he's designing the game all around the world, and some of that time was spent at Us2. The art design is largely driven by really, really filtering out the noise and focusing on the signal. So let's use Alto's Adventure as an example. In Alto's Adventure, an astounding number of things in that game are just triangles. The leaves on the trees are triangles of different shapes. The mountains are those same triangles. And the triangles are the bunting flags upside down as you go across. And what that does is it creates this subtle visual cohesion that makes you feel like you're in a familiar, safe, calming space because you're not being jarred sensorially by all this visual dissonance. So it's about how can we depict things like windmills and trees and elder villages and camps by bringing everything down to its most simple visual depiction while still keeping it recognizable as its real-world counterpart.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think it's a very common style technique for indies also, because if you can come up with a coherent art style that's minimalist or that really reads a certain way, you can create that feeling in the player with less artists, with less work. I mean, we do a lot with a little, and so I think, your game does a lot with a little. I mean, and you may not have seen the trailer for Coma, but you should go watch it because it is gorgeous. It looks
really is.
super amazing. And
You can see it at playcoma.com.
Yeah.
Playcoma.com.
The plug. Wait, what was that again?
Yeah.
Playcoma.com?
Playcoma.com.
That's right. And at luna.funomena.com, you'll see the trailer for Luna, which is also a beautiful game. And I think actually one of my tricks is that I hired an artist to work on the game that thought of themselves primarily as a concept artist and illustrator. So the art has a real storybook paper quality. If you get someone who's always got their head in games, then you get, orcs, or something. And to get really different looks, I think you need to kind of stretch out. We have another couple of questions. Actually, we have one from Facebook. Katie Perkins asks, what does your dream video game look like? I mean, I guess you made yours, but if you could...
Kinda?
Yeah. I mean, is there something out there that you really want to see?
I want to make a survival game. I want to...
Ooh, survival.
I mean, I want to make it on a massive scale. I want to do 200 by 200 kilometer maps with, 2,000-3,000 people and make kind of sense for trade routes and this kind of stuff, make a helicopter actually meaningful on the island.
I think there are a lot of nerds out there that would play that.
Yeah, I mean...
I would.
Just simple survival, but I think the tech isn't there yet. It's getting there, but yeah.
That's cool. Is there something that you'd love to see?
Yeah, so we're making something right now we haven't talked about, we're not going to talk about today, but it's a game that I guess you could best call narrative fiction. My dream game is a game that tells the story of a life and a single linear story that almost feels, once you've finished it, like you've gone to a really profound movie, and you take away from that premium experience. And part of why that is my dream game is because as someone who makes games for mobile platforms, I really want to push this idea that it's worth paying $10 for a mobile game, because if you'd pay $10 for a movie ticket, why not that? So we're working on something right now that's in that sort of device 6-y narrative space.
There are so many developers that love you right now. They're making mobile games. They're like, please help them tell us that they'll pay us money.
Rising tide raises all the boats.
Yeah, that's right. Is there something? I mean, you're working on your game.
It's just this is the one.
Yeah,
now,
I was going to say you're working on a game. For me, I do have actually. So I design games really slowly. So Luna, I started designing about 5-8 years ago, and I did a lot of writing and concept art myself. The game that I'm working on now, I think my dream is to build something that is truly sacred, that feels really like a place you can go to at the end of the day where you can just completely center yourself, and through interacting with it, you learn something about yourself. So I'm really interested in procedural generation, but in particular AI for storytelling and AI for character generation, that I want my next game to almost be like a black box, like that when you play it, it's learning about you and you're learning about it, and it's a mutual conversation between you and this piece of software. My dissertation, I actually have a background in computer science. I dropped out of my PhD program to work on The Sims, so, but my dissertation was about this kind of idea. And I guess while we wrap up, can you give sort of an inspirational one-liner to people about what it means to be indie, or how to inspire all those hands at the beginning that we saw to actually do it and go for it? Because I think that's why we're here, is we want more of us in the world. So
just make games that you want to play. That's what I did, and I think that's the key, is just make something you want to play. And that makes it so much easier to complete it because you want to play it.
Something I'd say is there are no skills you have that are not compatible to making games. I come from a production and a writing background. I'm not an engineer. I am so in admiration of you, Robin, for that, your background in that. But there's no skill you have that would not be suitable to a game studio or a game environment, and have faith in yourself to know that.
Just that it's you can learn everything that you need to learn. It's not that hard. There are people who think like, oh, I'm not like a code person, but it's not that hard. You can figure it out. Like, it's not that daunting. Or I'm not an art person. You can figure out ways to sort of still make beautiful, cool things. So I don't know.
And my point is always the same. We're really nice. Like, indie developers are really nice people. And I just want to wrap it up. I just want us to give a huge round of applause to everyone that participated in the panel and every indie out there that's trying to make something awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.